Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Laura Parrish, better known as the hashtag TNS Mastermind Team No Sleep. And it is Sunday, May 22nd, 2016. And I am joined tonight by some amazing panelists. We have Mr. Dave with us, Miss Katie Stage in the house, and Dee Powell. We had a couple others that were going to be on tonight, but they weren't able to make it for whatever reason. So this is what you got tonight. We're excited to be here talking about something that's so very important. If you were invited to this call by someone, if you have any questions about anything we're talking about that you can't get answered tonight for whatever reason, or you just forget to ask it in the chat section below this video, please refer back to the person who sent you to this call. And if you're ready to get started, you can click the link right below this video or below the chat, and it will get you started with that person as well. But tonight, we're talking about something important: why your job is costing you more than just money. And if you missed the live hangout that we did a couple weeks ago, you kind of missed the first part, because that was about why working from home is literally cheaper than going to a job. So many people think, oh, I don't have to pay to go to work. Why should I have to pay to work from home? And that's simply not the truth. There's nothing for free in life. Everything costs money. And we broke down on that specific webcast about how it actually costs more money to work a job than it does to work for yourself from home. So if you missed that, make sure you get with whoever invited you to this call, and they can get you the link to that so you can check that one out. So tonight, the topic is kind of feeding off of that, of why it costs you more than just money, because there are things in life more important than money. I'm sure that we can all agree with that. And there was, in the invite that you received, there was a list of things that we're going to be talking about, and I have some notes here. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. If you see me looking to the right, I'm looking over here to our live feed that you're going to be commenting on. I see Katie. Katie's already saying, hey, Dave. Carrie Anderson, hey, Carrie, what's going on? Deb, Jim, welcome to the call. If you have questions or comments, please put them in that section. Katie is an awesome comment moderator, so she's going to be keeping her eye on that, and so am I. We all are. So make sure you just drop in your 2 cents or whatever questions you have, or if there's something that you would like to hear us talk about in the future on a Sunday night, make sure you put that in there as well. So before we get started, I want to do what I always do, which is have a disclaimer that if you have a job, we are not here to bash what you do, right? We're not here to say that people who have jobs are bad people or shouldn't have jobs. The bottom line is everyone that's on this call, on this panel right now, feels that you should do whatever you're passionate about in life, whatever that is. And if that is a career or a job, then that's what you should do. If it's being at home with your friends and family and working for yourself, then that's what you should do. Because, honestly, we need lawyers, right? We need people who love to run restaurants. We need doctors to take care of us when we get sick. So we're so appreciative of those people who are passionate about taking care of us and taking care of, society, and allowing us to come out and eat at restaurants and taking care of our animals for those people who are veterinarians and things like that. So do whatever it is that you're passionate about, because that's the most important thing in life. Okay, so without further ado, I want to get started. The first few things that we're going to talk about, and I'll just list a few of the things from the event invite that you received, is about being emotionally stuck, right, in your job. Like you just can't get ahead, and like what you're doing is never enough. So I guess I want to ask, does anyone feel that way, right? Have you ever had a job where you just feel like you're not going anywhere? You go to the same place day in and day out. You do the same, monotonous thing. Hey, Teresa. Teresa joined us. Yay, Teresa's here. Welcome, Teresa. Another awesome panelist. Glad you came on, girl. So we're talking about Teresa. We just got started. If you ever feel, if you have a job and you feel emotionally stuck, like you can't get ahead in your job, like what you're doing is never enough, like you're stagnating. You go to work, whatever time you go, 3 to 11, 9 to 5, 7 to 3, whatever, and it's just monotonous. You do the same thing day in, day out. And maybe you have the desire to get ahead. Maybe you have the desire to earn more, do more, be promoted, but you just feel like it's not happening for whatever reason. Maybe there doesn't seem to be any opportunities. Maybe you have a boss that you don't get along with, and he's afraid that you might take his job or her job, so on and so forth. And just that feeling of blah, like is this all there is to life? Is this what I'm going to be doing forever? And you start questioning things. So I see Katie shaking her head, yeah, that she's had that feeling before. So Katie, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and come on out and share your thoughts on that, appreciate it.
This is basically my huge pain point because I don't know if anybody knows my backstory, but I've had 31 jobs in 17 years. Yes, you heard that right. All entry-level jobs, okay? So I know what it feels like to get into an entry-level position, and when I got there, it's just I don't have the passion for what the company is about. I worked for Anderson Windows. Yeah, it's great. It's cool to put windows together, and they go on houses or whatever. But it's just not a passion of mine. Okay, and yes, I've worked for just you name it. Really, I've been an independent contractor too. It's just I couldn't find that passion, and that was just my problem. So that's why I kept trying to find it until I got introduced to network marketing and internet marketing or whatever you want to call it. I didn't know what it was. I had no clue, and it just piqued my interest right away because it was the people that I was surrounded with that were happy all the time, wanted to go forward in life and not be cranky and sad. You know what I mean? It's like such a huge shift. So it's right on point when you say when you go into a job and you just don't see, the passion in anybody's eyes. It's kind of sad. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and I love that because just you say that you're in a community where everybody seems happy all the time and not cranky, and I want to point out that doesn't mean we don't have bad days, right? We do, but what Katie's trying to say is we all, if you have a glass and it's half full, the people that we're surrounded with are looking at it as half full, not half empty. Like I just automatically said the glass is half full. I didn't even have to think about saying that, but then I was like, some people say, oh, it's half empty. The silver lining in everything, even when you're having a bad day, right? And it's easy, and I know that easy is a relative term, but I want to say it's easy because we get to do what we're choosing to do. We get to do what we're happy about doing and not, doing a monotonous thing in life. So I appreciate you sharing on that, Katie. Dave, do you want to hop out and say anything on that?
Yeah, I want to talk about the first job I ever had when I got out of school. I worked for a company that made bombs, and I just got this entry-level job, and I was all excited about what I was going to do. And I got in, and they got me ready for the job. And then I found out that I was supposed to be on an assembly line, holding these little electronic components and putting them on these paste droplets so that it'll be ready for welding and everything. And that was very frustrating for me. And what I remember most about that job was every time I went back into the main office, and perhaps the receptionist was having trouble with computers, and I love computers, so I was always there helping her out. I was always trying to solve her problem and doing the things that I really enjoyed. And so I would always just about get out of the assembly job area and go and do the stuff that I really wanted to do, and I'd always be helping out everybody with stuff that I enjoyed. The problem was that the managers didn't like that, so after about 3 months, they give you 3 months probation, I was called into the office and I had that conversation. We seem to be going to some different ways here, and we just find that we won't need your services anymore. So I left that, and I never really got anywhere in a 9-to-5 position because I always ended up doing the stuff I really just wanted to do. And in my entire career of working, I can remember when I had one job where my boss gave me the freedom to do the things I wanted, and she kind of understood where I was going, and I was the only person in the entire office that never had a form to fill out, to take notes or anything like that. She understood me as a person because she was an entrepreneur as well, and she wanted people to have time freedom. And when I think about it, she nudged me in the direction of doing what I wanted to do. And that's when I went overseas. I went overseas after that, did what I wanted to do, made some money, came back, and I got into this industry. And I cannot work. I'm psychologically unemployable right now. I cannot do it. And I remember Miss Tracy Walker saying that on stage once. She said, I'm psychologically unemployable, and I was so motivated by that because I can't do it. There's just no way I can go back, because my freedom now, you know, if I want to go to the beach, I can just go. I just went away over the weekend because I wanted to, and I can do that. My job has always restricted me to do the things I wanted to do, and because I now work online, and I am financially independent right now, so I don't work a full-time job. I fired my own boss. I walked into the office and told him, "I'm sorry, but I'm out of here." And I said, "You're going next." I said, "You're going next." And I was so fed up, I just walked out, and I've never looked back. And it's the best thing in the world, because I don't know what I'm going to make, but I know that I can make more than what I was earning before. I earn more than all of my friends put together. They don't even come close, and it's because of this absolute love for this industry, and it's because I know that if you want freedom and you want to have a life of doing what you want to do, and you can do it, it's completely possible. The problem is we're all boxed in. And I've heard the story of an animal being put into a cage in a field. You put a bear in a cage, you put a cage over the bear, and you leave that bear for 6 months in that cage, and you feed this bear every time, and then after 6 months, you take the cage off. If you put the food outside the area where the cage was, the bear is not going to go further than that, because it's been programmed to work within its box. And it's the same with working in an environment where you are not allowed to think outside your box. Everything you do is given to you. And because being online, you can do so much more than that. Now you can actually work when you want to work. And you almost feel guilty, because, you know, when people say, "Do you mind working after hours?" and you say, "No, I don't want to work up. No, I'm sorry." It's because we've been working in this time frame our entire life. But the moment I started to realize, hey, you know what, I need to work online, I actually don't mind working after hours now, because it expands my horizons, and I can earn more, I can do the things I want to. So yeah, absolutely, I know exactly what that feels like.
Outstanding. Thanks for all that. I got so many nuggets out of what you just said, and the last thing you said is, funny thing is, and I can't remember who said it, but entrepreneurs will work 80 hours a week to build their own business so they don't have to go work 40 hours a week for somebody else, right? And that's true. We love what we do, you know, Team No Slave. I know Dave was saying before the call, he's like, this is perfect for him, because it's not that you can't ever sleep, you know, to be successful in this industry. It's just you don't want to, because there's so many people out there that just don't know that there's a better way to live, and that's what we want to do. We want to educate people and provide value to them. But a couple other things I want to touch on that you said. I love that, psychologically unemployable, right? I know, I remember when Tracy said that too. It was absolutely outstanding, and it's the truth. You know, I always say I'll never have a job again, because no one will be able to pay me what I'm worth, and it's not about being egotistical or cocky. It's about, I can provide value to people outside of a job that, you know, I can't provide to people inside of a job. You know what I mean? It's just, you're not allowed, right? It's kind of like you know, you were supposed to be on an assembly line doing X, Y, Z, and I wrote down, it's almost like, you know, what good are you if a robot can literally do what you are assigned to do as a human being, right? Robots can do stuff like that now, you know, just on the assembly line and things like that. But you had the desire to do more. You had the desire to step out and go into other areas and do what you wanted to do, and that allowed you to that allowed you to provide value. And in regards to the money, like, it's amazing. I remember when I made my first $25 online, I literally looked at we were on Interstate 81 coming back from Mother's Day weekend, coming back home, and I literally looked at my husband when my phone went off, and I said, "Holy shit," and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I just made $25. He was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is real." And it's so exciting. You know, you can make hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, whatever, however much money you want to online, but no one ever forgets their first $1 or $2 or whatever that they made, their first commission online, because that is the turning point where you realize if I can make 25 like that, I can make 250 like that. And if I can make 250 like that, I can make 2,500 like that, right? If I can make 2,500 like that, I can make 25,000 like that. And then you realize that the possibilities are literally endless. There is no more, well, you only make X amount of dollars for X amount of hours, and you can only work X amount of hours a week, so this is your income set in stone every single week for every single month for, for life. You literally have the ability to make as much money as you want, which is an amazing thing if, like, shit hits the fan, right? What if the transmission in your car goes out? What if your HVAC system goes out in your house, and all of a sudden you need to come up with $2,000 like that? You can't do that through a job, right? You'd have to get another job. But, if you just want to work a little harder or work a little more at home, you have the ability to make that extra money when you want it or when you need it. You know what I mean? So thank you so much, Dave, for sharing everything that you shared. Like I said, I got a lot out of that and appreciate it. So I'm going to move over. I think Teresa's having some sound issues, so she had to hop off and reboot. But I want to move over to Dee because I know that she's got some input on this as well about the feelings of being emotionally stuck in a job where you can't get ahead and like what you're doing is never enough and you're stagnating. So if you want to come on out, Dee, that'd be great.
All right, thanks, Laura. It's being emotionally stuck is like dreading to get up every morning to have to get ready and go into the office when the job that you're doing is like tedious, and it's just frustrating, and you would rather be home instead of having to, get in your car and drive somewhere and then rush into a building and be there at a certain time from one time to another. You have to be there from 9 to 5 and spend your whole day there, and and then you miss out on, like I have 2 grandchildren, so in the days that I go to the job, my grandchildren live with me, and so I'm not able to spend the day with them. I'm not able to go outside and push them on the swing, or get them their chocolate milk, or get their hugs all day long, that kind of thing. And it's like you miss out on just so much, and it's frustrating. It really does wear on your emotions, because a lot of times, you just, how am I going to do this another day? How am I going to just get up? How am I going to just go there? And it's like the thing about Mondays, Mondays are the worst, Mondays is like the worst day of the week for a lot of people that, that work, that have jobs, and Sunday night they're dreading Monday morning so much, because Monday, you have to get up and leave your house and go to the job, and, you appreciate that you have a salary coming, at the same time you're appreciative that, you have a job, but there's got to, and working for somebody else and, spending all your time, it's like you're trading your time for money, you're trading, it's like you're renting yourself out even, you know what I'm saying? So it's very frustrating, to have the freedom just to be able to spend your days doing what you want to do, and not have to, just not have to answer to an employer of any kind is huge. It's really huge, and to be able to be self-sufficient, so it can be very emotional. Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. And you said a few things that, like you said, the one thing I was like, oh, that's perfect, because that leads into what I wanted to talk about next, which is losing time with family, losing time with friends, whoever it is important to you to spend time with. But then you started talking about other things too, and I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that. There's so many things. It's really having a job, like I said, not bashing people who have a job that they're passionate about, but for the people out there like me and the other people on this panel, we just really felt like, oh, like, is this all there is to life? How can I how can I do what I want and make money, you know, financially provide for my family and be happy, right? Because I would dare say, and this is just my opinion, this is not just statistical, that the majority of people, I would say 90 to 95%, a very high percentage of people feel this way, right? They just feel like the job is what they do because that's what they're taught they have to do. That there's no other way, or they have been taught that anything that's working from home is a scam, right? And that's just, it's emotional brainwashing, and it's unfortunate, you know. What's that saying? I said to someone a few weeks ago is I'm not going to let my children's school destroy their education. I think that's how I said it, or something like that. And it's not their school in particular. My kids go to an amazing school, but I'm just talking about education in general, not letting the education system destroy our children's real education, because though they get great education, they don't get all the education that they need, right? That you literally can do what you want, live the way you want, because it's so ingrained that you have to go to school and you have to do this and that. Hey, if my kids want to go to college, then I support that. But if they say, no, I want to create something, I want to live my dream, I want to do this, I want to do that, I would support that too. And it's just, that's not taught, you know, it's just not taught. But speaking of what Dee was talking about, and thank you for sharing, Dee, hopefully Teresa will be back on soon. I think she's rebooting her computer. About losing time with family and friends. And let's think about, you know, if you work an 8-hour job, and that's if you're not salaried. If you are salaried, you're working 10, I know, like the restaurant industry, 10 hours as a salary manager, 12 is not unheard of either. I've even worked 14 and 16-hour days in the restaurant industry, but let's say you work like 30 minutes away from where you live, or an hour, and let's say you have to commute, like in big cities and things like that. But before, I see Teresa's back, but before we get into the losing time with family, friends, travel time, and all that, I want to come back to Teresa. Hey, Teresa can hear us now. Yay, awesome. So, Teresa, I want to come back to you, put you on the spot since you just got back. Everyone else share. I'd like for you to share on being emotionally stuck in a job where you feel like you can't get ahead, like what you're doing is never enough, that you're stagnating, you know, not being able to move up, move forward, make more, anything like that. And Dave had shared about when Tracy Walker talked about on stage about being psychologically unemployable, which we all love, of course. We all realize we're psychologically unemployable, and not being able to provide value when you're in a position that you really just feel like you're a robot, you know, and then you go home. So if you'd like to unmute yourself and share on that before we move forward, that'd be great.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Okay. I come from a service industry background, call centers and so forth, and providing value is one of the things that I always enjoyed. However, in the job that I was in, I was not allowed to do that because your time counted. So you can, A, do a really good job in that call center and help that customer, and they're happy. They don't have to call back 2 or 3 times. But on the downside of that, you have your boss behind you saying, time is money, time is money, time is money. And so, you know, you have a customer then that's not happy. And I felt that, okay, so if I did a good job, then the customer was happy. The company should be happy that that customer doesn't have to call back 2 or 3 times. So you feel kind of stuck because you have that gratitude of, you know, I'm doing something good for someone, but your boss is literally hovering over your shoulder, and I never really liked that feeling, you know, having someone hover over your shoulder. It made me really nervous, like someone breathing down my neck. It makes you, and many of you, if you have worked in a call center, any customer service oriented thing at all, it makes you want to reach the feeling. Finally, you just like don't want to get up and go to work because you know your boss is going to be breathing down you. And there's so many times I wanted to reach behind me and go, get off my neck. And a lot of you probably feel that way. And like David said, I found myself mentally unemployable because I'm always, you know, as you know, Laura, we've known each other for a long time. I'm always kind of going on my way to help people. But a lot of jobs, you know, time is money, and people don't like that, you know. So very, very frustrating. I got stuck in the stinky shift. When you first start out, you get the 3 to 11. I have 2 children. One is disabled, and my other one is, so he's an adult. My other child is 13. I missed a lot of concerts, a lot of things I had to beg for off, you know, and just all of that. Just a horrid feeling. And so I said, you know what, enough is enough. I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to work from home. And that was the time when I said, I just feel like I can't do it anymore. I'm unemployable by a boss. I can't do it. It's not in me. I can't sit still. I'm like, David, I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and not when someone says, you may have permission to go potty. That's what I always felt like, sitting there in a call center, you feel like you have to have permission to look sideways or permission to do something that you feel is right that would possibly make a customer happy or whatnot. And the decision is not in your court. And like David, you like to be able to make your own decisions and do your own things. And so he and I are very much alike in that way, most definitely.
Thanks for sharing. I'm glad that you were able to get back on and you can hear us, and we can hear you too, right? But that's great. And so she brought up a point that the rest of us didn't mention about. She was actually able to provide value in what she was doing, and she felt good about that. But she had the other part of like time is money, time is money, time is money, and that's another good point that we didn't talk about and didn't get brought up. So thank you for bringing that up, because bosses, like, time is money. You guys know how it is, right? They want to maximize what they get out of you for the amount of money for everything and paying it. But that's a way that you feel stuck, and that makes sense too. So she enjoyed being able to provide value, but felt really pushed to not be able to do that, so people didn't have to call back. And it's also about any job that I ever was in. And we were talking about this before we went live tonight. Is like, I did everything 300%, including drinking. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for just over 5 years. But like, when I did everything, I do it right. Like everything in life. So when I would get a job, I would move up very quickly. But I was the type of person that I wanted my bosses to be. You know what I mean? Like, and I've talked about this in prior calls where, if you're in a job and you want to move up, but it's like you have a boss who's afraid that you're going to take their job, so like they try to hold you down, try to push you back, and all that. And I was always the type of person who I wanted at least one person, if not more than one person, to know how to do exactly what I knew how to do, because that way I could say, hey, I'm ready to move up, and don't worry about trying to replace me, because I've already replaced myself, right? I've got someone right here who can do what I know how to do. I'm ready to move up, boom, bam, bing, let's do it. And also being able to inspire people. And this is really great, like Dave said after he fired his boss, don't worry, you're next, right? Because you can see in people who have the desire to do well, who have the desire to provide value. And it was like, when I was a restaurant manager or a kitchen manager, you create those like to-do lists for cleaning, right? Once a week you clean the hoods, once a week you clean the fryers and things like that. And, I was never the boss who was like, okay, Johnny, why haven't you cleaned the fryers? Okay, Jim, why haven't you cleaned the hoods? I would literally get everything ready, get the stool, get up, and like the employees, because they weren't used to that, would look at me and be like, what is she doing? What is she doing? And I would start cleaning the hoods. Or I would start cleaning the fries, and they're like, oh, snap, she's doing it? And what that does is it creates them saying, hey, boss lady, let me help you. They used to call me boss lady, right? Let me help you. I got this. And so then they would get a stool, and they would join in. You know what I mean? It's called leading by example. It's called suiting up and showing up and not expecting other people to do what you wouldn't do yourselves. Like, nobody wants to scrub a toilet, right? But if you get down and scrub the toilet, then your people are more willing to do it with you. And it's such an amazing environment, like Katie was talking about when she was talking about what we do, what we love, and we're part of a community where everyone's doing it with you. You're not alone. You're not feeling like you're being told, do this, do that, but you don't have any help. It's really a family. To me, anyway, it's a second family, and I know to everyone on this call, they feel the same way, because we've been doing it a while. So you have a panelist of people here who know what they're talking about, right, and can relate to you if you're watching this live or the replay, either or, and exactly where you're at right now in your life, right? And so that's why they're on here sharing their time and dedicating that to you guys to say, hey, we know how you feel. We know how you feel, because we felt that way too. But you don't have to, right? We're here to educate you that there's a better way to get out of that feeling. So let's move right along to what I was talking about, losing time with family and friends. And Dee already talked about that a little bit, and Teresa just touched on it about her children, and Dee talked about her grandchildren live with her. And I can talk about on that too. And I started to say about travel time. You might work 8 or 10 hours, but if you work an hour away and you've got commute time, then you add all that on. And that adds stress to you in the inside. Because if you do have kids, and if you don't have kids, that's okay. If you have furry kids, you know, like pets, those are considered kids. So a lot of people really consider their animals their children. Or if you have a spouse or just friends that you like to hang out with and things like that, there's stress because it's like, man, there's not enough. How many times have you ever had a job you said there's not enough hours in the day, right? Like I want to spend time with my kids. And for the people who are married and want to spend time with a spouse or have a significant other or kids, it seems like you are rushing to get to work on time. Then you're rushing to get home. But as soon as you get home, what do you have to do? You're either making dinner or sitting down to eat dinner or picking up dinner somewhere, and then you're rushing, if you've got kids, to try to help get homework done and spend some time with them before you got to brush your teeth, read them their stories, get them in bed, and then you're ready to fall out because you're exhausted, right? And it's like, shoot, you got to get up and do it all over again the next day. And that really is what started in my mind is this all there is to life? Is this what we're just supposed to do every day? Just live like this? This is crazy. Like, this is no way to live. And so when I started working for myself, and like I talked about a little bit ago about the first income that I made, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I literally have the ability to create as much income as I want. I don't have to trade my time for hours anymore. I was able to really have gratitude for moments. And so I want the panelists to share on that in just a moment. I'll share on a couple moments I've had first and then ask them to share about moments that you've had where you've literally been able to say, this is why I do what I do. And for one of the moments I want to share about, and I've shared this for people who are on my personal team before they know the story, right back there is another chair. That's the chair I normally sit in. I'm sitting in a tall chair for the call. But there's a window there, and my assistant's desk is there. There's another window there. But when we first moved into this house, before I had a desk over there, my daughter came in, and she was like, I was sitting here at my computer. She's like tugging on my shirt. She's like, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And you all know how it is. Like, if you're busy doing something, whether it's working or cooking or whatever, and one of your kids comes up to you and is like, Mommy, Mommy, or Daddy, Daddy. And you're like, what? I was doing my own thing. I was in my own head. I was in my own world. I'm like, what do you need? What do you need? And she says, Mommy, Mommy. And I stopped and I said, yes, Samantha, what do you need? And she said, come here, come here. I was like, okay. So I got up, and she took me over to that window. And she simply pointed outside, and she said, look, a flower's blooming. And that's all she said. And in that moment, I knelt down next to her, and I put my arm around her, and I said, sure isn't it? It's a beautiful thing. And it's moments like that when we're so busy as adults, running around, trying to get everything done. And, hey, I work for myself, right? And this happened working for myself here at home. But what would have happened if I weren't here for that moment? What if I were at a job, right? I'm able to be present and available for everything. See, there's a saying about kids that you should always listen to them when they're little, because to them everything is the most important thing in the world. And when you listen to them as kids, then they'll still tell you about the big things that we consider big things when they get to be teenagers and adults, They'll always share with you. But that moment was the most important moment in the world to that little girl, my daughter, because the flower was blooming, and that was just so powerful to her. And I was able to stop and smell the roses, as it's called, right? And say, you're right, and to be here. And there was another moment with my son when we lived in Richmond. I was sitting in my recliner with him, and he was playing a video game like he likes to do, and he was not paying any attention to me at all. But I was just sitting there in the recliner. He was playing his game, and I was rocking with him, and I put my hand on his chest, and I just, probably for about 15 minutes, just rocked with him and just felt his heartbeat on my hand. And if I were, working a job, I wouldn't have the ability to do that and just think how precious life is, and to have those moments where he doesn't think anything of it, but to me, it's the most important thing in the world. And moments like that mean more than any amount of money that you can make. I promise you that. So those are things that have really been impressionable to me, and that I've been so grateful for not, having to go to a job, but to be able to be present in the moments So if someone would like to come out and share on that, Katie, I see you shaking your head again, and share maybe some moments that really impacted you and understanding the power of being able to be at home with your family and do what you want to do and live the way that you want to live and not have to, worry about commute time, work time, and missing time. That'd be great.
Yeah, you should have seen my cat's face when I was able to come home. He was like, "Yay, you get to pet me all the time." No. Oh gosh. Okay, so I don't have a husband or anything like that, or kids. I have a cat, and my pops lives with me. But the moment that, okay, like I said, I've worked 31 jobs in 17 years. At one point in time, I've had 4 jobs at one time, so I was always constantly busy, until I was introduced to network marketing, and it was basically a slap in the face. Literally a slap in my face saying, slow down, stop and smell the roses. Life does not have to be busy like that. You can still make the income and not be busy. You can. What's so cool about network marketing is you get to basically give yourself a raise. You know what I mean? Double your income. Let's just say that, if you choose to. Okay, at a moment's notice, like what Laura said. She made her first $25. Hey, if I could do that, why not $250? And so on. You could basically write your own checks, which is pretty cool. And the moment that I'm going to touch on some feelings about, what it feels like to go from hating your job, wondering, is this all to life, to I'm going to utilize this job, put it towards my business, and the moment that you can actually walk in and fire your boss, it is the coolest thing. So don't do that until you can replace your income, okay? We're not saying that this is a lotto ticket here. Replace your income, utilize that job, and it's just the coolest feeling. You're kind of like doing this thing, like, haha, I'm using you for my business. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. So it's a really cool, it's been a really, really fun ride for me. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. So I hope that helps.
Awesome. No, I love that you brought that up too, like that little scheming, sneaking, like you have no idea what I'm really doing, right? I know everyone on this call, and maybe some of you watching live or watching the replay, know someone by the name of Lawrence Tam, and that's exactly what he did. Lawrence Tam is amazing. I mean, he was an engineer in a cubicle doing the thing, building his business on lunch breaks and out in his car and every chance he could, and he's done amazing in this industry as well. But that brings me to Dave. I want to ask Dave, is that what you were doing? Because you said you were able to go and fire your boss. So were you doing that little schemey thing too?
With what I want to do is mention 3 particular instances, 3 things that really stood out for me in this industry. And one was our very first commission. And Laura's absolutely right. You never forget your first commission. It's just the best moment ever. When I started out, I was completely ignorant. You have to understand that back when I was starting out, I needed to put $65 away every single month. And that was a quarter of a salary for me every single month to the business, of which money I didn't have because I wasn't getting enough and my money was depleting, so I had to go and find extra work. And I remember I was working for about 8 months, really hard, trying to get this thing down and understand it. And when I made my first commission, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I broke down in tears. There was a moment where I suddenly realized this can actually happen, and that for me was the best thing ever, because the same thing rolls in your head. If I can do this once, I can do it again. I remember when Jeff Walker, he told his story. He was the guy that actually inspired me to get involved. He said, because he started the whole list building thing back when there wasn't any Google, when there wasn't any YouTube. He started out that, and he decided that he was going to send people a report on trading, a trading report. But he used to do it free, and then he decided he was going to put really good work into it and charge like $20 for this report. And so he had like a little 20 people. He sent it out. And just before he was going to work, or just before he was going to college, because he had saved for the first semester, which he couldn't really afford to go and do something, he checked his email, and he made like $200. And all he could think about that whole day was the money he had made. And he went back into class, and if you know Jeff, he's not a very he isn't very charismatic, but he was in the class sitting down, and the lecture was about to start. And as the lecture started, he looked out the window, and he thought, if I could do this once, I could do it again. And he got up and he walked straight out the class, and he just the rest is history. And he's built himself an empire. Now, that my first moment, my first commission. The second moment where I realized the freedom I had was, now I live in a third world country. You have to understand that whenever I shop, I buy the lowest price brands ever. Okay, so you have to shop for things that don't cost a lot. And for the first time in my life, I realized that I was walking in and just buying stuff I wanted. Okay, so if I looked at a brand name, I just took the best brand and I bought it. And you know, so there wasn't any of that. I just shop and fill the shopping cart with stuff I needed, and I just walked out. And that was a really liberating feeling. And the third most significant time of my life was when, you know, my dad has always wanted a electric drill, like a screwdriver. He's always wanting one. He bought one years ago, but it broke, and he really just wanted one. So I remember going to like a Home Depot, whatever you guys go to, and I walked in there and I bought the best brand name case toolkit with brand new, like, everything, and I just paid for it. Walked right out the shop, and I just said, Dad, here we go, this is for you. And it cost a fortune, you know, I mean, what it would have cost, but it's an amazing feeling to be able to just help people out when you can. Most of my thoughts today are, like, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine about a family that's struggling, like, really badly. They can't even afford basic necessities. And what I'm thinking is, how can I contribute to their life and say, let me make your life a bit easier? And one of the things I want to do, because I'm a youth worker working with kids and teenagers, and I want to start this youth center called Detour 180, where we're going to buy this huge property, and it's going to be a place where I can teach kids and teenagers, young adults, how to turn their life around and not to be dependent on the system, but teach them how to be productive in a country where it's very hard to find work. And I want to be able to do that, and that's one of my dreams, and that's what I'm working towards. And I've got everything planned out. I'm just working towards that goal at the end. But it's an absolutely liberating feeling when you can look back on things and say, you know what, it's not a struggle anymore. Because I took those 8 months when I started, and I just put in the hard work. And you know, people say, what's the secret to success? And I'll tell you, it's just consistency. It's just absolutely hitting the grindstone and making everything you do exceptional, in the sense that everybody notices you. So people know me for the guy that works really hard at home. People know me for the guy that goes the extra mile. And if you're not exceptional, if you're not doing that and getting out of your comfort zone, you're not going to get there. You've got to put yourself outside of your comfort zone and say, I've got to have butterflies in my stomach today. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different and making that extra step. And I know that money isn't everything, but it's the only thing that people keep account of. It's the only thing that really, really matters, in the sense of, you know, people need that. They rely on that. And it's not that money is my God or anything. It just gives me a lot of options. It gives me a lot more options than I had. Now I actually have the ability to pay off the house that we're living in, and to retire my parents so they have a comfortable life. And that's what I want to do. And if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, is it absolutely possible? I want to tell you, from a guy living in South Africa in a third world country, if it weren't for this industry, I don't know where I'd be, honestly. It saved my life. And there is no secret, all right? The key is to find a mentor, invest in yourself, invest in your business, get into a community of people that are like-minded and to copy the habits of those people, and then, of course, use systems that work. If you follow those 5 principles, you will absolutely make it in this industry. There's no question about it. You just need to be hardworking and dedicated and exceptional. But anyway, back to you, Laura. I hope that's answered your question.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. And I love what you want to do, you know, above and beyond retiring your parents, but, you know, building a building to be able to teach children that self-sufficiency is possible in a third world country. That is absolutely huge. That's an amazing goal to have, and I know that you'll succeed in it. Wow. That's awesome, you know. And like he said, you know, if he had a job, he wouldn't be able to do that. He wouldn't be able to do and live the way he wants to live and be able to do those things. And, you know, buying the gift for your dad, I mean, that is the best feeling in the world when you can provide for those that you love in a way that you would never been able to provide if you were just making X, Y, Z dollars for the hours that you had to work. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Miss D, would you like to step out and say something about, I know you said a little bit already about losing time with family. Did you have anything to add?
Just that the most precious moments are when I am home and don't have to go to work and don't have to, you know, run out of the house, and my granddaughter can wake up in the morning and come climb into bed with me and snuggle with me in the mornings. You know, that's priceless. That's really priceless. So that's really all I want to say about that, because you know, I did it with my kids, and now I'm doing it with my grandchildren, you know. So I mean, it's just priceless. Those moments, you can't ever get those moments, you know, back. If you miss them, you'll never, you know what I mean? It's something to really that you cherish.
Absolutely. So. I do know what you mean. And speaking of that, I want to move on to Teresa as well, because she said, you know, that she has 2 children. One child is a special needs child who is grown now. But Teresa, do you want to step out and talk about, you know, the extra time that requires, and having the ability and really having to work for yourself, or, you know, there's just not an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not an option. You know, I mean, it's something that you're a mom. You know, you have to do those things. I think, you know, some of the moments that I appreciate the most are, well, a couple of things. The feeling of, I can't wait for my lunch break because I'm doing my business on the side. And so storing that up, and then finally, and for me, I'll tell you just honestly, I really didn't have a plan B. I just said, you know what, I'm going to find a way to work from home. I eliminated plan A. You know, there's no backup plan. I just went home and I just started working from home, whatever I could do, you know, web design, jobs online, whatever it took, because I knew too that life did not have to be like, you know, we are not made to get up, pay bills, and die. It's just, life is not for that. And I knew that. I knew there had to be something else, and I just found a way. And sometimes when you're very determined, you find a way. I worked very hard and dedicated for a long time in the business that I started in, and I remember the feeling of, you know, my first commission was like, oh my gosh, I did it, and my kids were wondering, what are you doing? And I was jumping up and down and running around my office, and everybody in the house thought I was crazy, you know, and but that's a really good feeling, because once you know, hey, this works, you can do it over and over and over and over and over again. And yeah, it requires consistency. Now, on the other side of the ball, and I don't mean to drag things down here, but I really, really want people to, I haven't been ready to talk about this for a while until now, but I want people to think every moment in your life is special. My mother wished to take a trip to Hawaii at one point, and I told myself I am going to work hard enough and make her believe in this job that I have, because we all go through that, and I'm going to do that. Life is precious, time is precious. If you sit and wait, you won't get that chance. I never got to take my mom to Hawaii. She passed away about 2.5 months ago. So remember, whatever you have planned tomorrow, no, it can't wait. If you feel that you need to do something in your life and make a change, it needs to happen now, because tomorrow really isn't promised to anyone. And always always, always give value and treat the people in your life, how you would want to be treated, So just remember that if you're thinking about a change, do it now, because all the things that you desire, what if tomorrow doesn't come? What if we all make excuses. Our human psychology is, you know what, I could do this, but then within the first 30 seconds, our brain is programmed to make up an excuse, because then we feel like we are in this safe zone. And the minute that you don't step out of that safe zone, you're not going to achieve the things that you want in life. And even now, having to take time off to take care of the things for my mother, I'm still making residual income. I have a very loyal team, and if any of them are watching right now, I appreciate your love and support. And again, we are all like a family, and I am very, very thankful for each and every one of you on my team and in our family with Laura, who have been very supportive of me. But without this kind of job, see, that's a moment. Without this kind of job, could you do that? Could you actually take a month or two and do what you need to do to take care of things for your family? Probably not. They give you, I think, 3 days, something like that, at a regular job. And then you feel like a peon like 3 days. For me, it took, I want you to really think about this, 3 days. You can't do much in 3 days. You cannot plan, not to be morbid, but you can't plan funerals in 3 days. You can't, empty a house in 3 days. You can't, any of that. You need something that gives you freedom and time for you to do the things you need to do, to breathe, to look out the window. I live in Wisconsin, and I was looking out the window the other day at my mother's house, and I saw a deer. Who takes the time to look out the window and see the deer? Just like Laura said, watch the flowers, see the deer, realize what's going on around you. We're so busy that we don't think about all the moments, like I'll never forget the first time that I saw my daughter have a solo on stage, singing a little bitty part, but it was a big deal because I always had to miss that. How many moments can you afford to miss before you make the change in your life? I think that should about cover it, because if you've been on the fence, if some of that doesn't change your mind, you have some things to really think about.
You're right. Thanks for sharing, Teresa. And I was going to add that too when everyone was done talking, because my mom passed away almost 8 months ago. 63 years old, unexpected as well. She was really sick, and we found out in July, and she was sick for 3 months before she passed. And I literally, with my father, helped take care of her every day hygienically, because she could not take care of herself, and I'm the only girl out of 23 grandchildren, so it was kind of like she's a girl, I'm a girl, my dad really appreciated me being able to be there and help. And if I'd have had a job, I wouldn't have been able to do that. You know what I mean? And had I had a job, quite honestly, I would have told them to go screw themselves, right? Because 3 days, no, I'm sorry, this is my mama. You know what I mean? Like, you do what's right, and you take care of who you love, and that's just the way it goes. And like you said, residual income, when you have a job, you show up for work, and you work X amount of hours, and in return you get a paycheck. But if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. And when you when you work for yourself and you're involved in a business like we are, you get paid, like she said, residual income, even when you can't be physically sitting there working. You might see, if you've been watching this, if you're watching this live or watching a replay, it doesn't matter. You might have seen whoever brought you to this call, invited you to this call, might put up something on their Facebook pages or Instagram or Twitter or whatever social media that you might have seen them on, where they said, oh, they woke up to, $25, or they woke up to $100, or they woke up to this, or they made $500 or whatever while they were sleeping. Or I put posts up where I made like $1,200 and $1,500 while I was mowing the lawn, and people are like, that's crap, how is that possible? It's not crap, it's absolutely possible, because what we do is we're marketing ourselves and the value that we have the ability to provide because of this company, because of MLSP, all this training and all this value that people need so that they can learn how to do exactly what it is that we do, right? And I might market that information at 7 o'clock in the morning, but you may not see it until 10:30 in the morning. At 10:30 in the morning, I might be on my lawnmower mowing my lawn, right? And then if you decide to join and I make some money off of that, then when I get back in, I'm going to be like, hey, I made money while I was mowing the lawn. And that's the great thing, that this business works for you even when you do not have the ability to work. So that's why it's so important to have residual income, and literally you can make money while you're sleeping. We wake up to money, and it's like, oh my gosh, I made money while I was asleep, right? Because it works for you even when you don't have the ability to work, or you can't, or you just don't want to. Because I can promise you for the 3 months that I, was helping take care of my mom and through her passing, I wasn't focused on my business, but my business worked for me. And if you have a normal job, it's not going to work for you. You don't show up, you don't get a paycheck. That's just the way it is. Can you afford that? Can you afford to miss 3 months of work? But wouldn't you do it anyway for your family members, a parent, a child, a sibling, a spouse, whatever? So that's a huge point, and thanks for bringing that up, Teresa, to think about, because it is so important. So let's see, it's almost 10. We've got another section here we want to talk about, and then we'll do some closing thoughts. So the next thing I wanted to, and someone said road rage in our little chat over here. Yeah, the road rage, because the purpose of this call is why your job is costing you more than just money, right? The emotions that come with having a job if you're not happy or passionate about what it is that you do. I mean, getting on the road with people and having to commute, like, people are crazy, right? I mean, people literally pull out guns and shoot people on the road. It's ridiculous. Just having to deal with that in and of itself, you feel like this, if you're dealing with that on the way to work and then you go into work like this and you feel like this all day, you're like ready to like go crazy on someone, right? And then just dealing with that and coming home, it's just a mess. But the next thing that I had slated for us is the feeling of constant state of anxiety or worry. All right, constant state of anxiety or worry, being mentally sad and depressed, and having knots in your stomach, being tired all the time. And I relate these things directly to paying bills, right? Because most, or should I say a majority of the people who have jobs are barely making ends meet, and there's that constant knot in your stomach and that feeling of, which thing do I pay with this paycheck, because it's going to be the next thing that gets cut off if I don't pay it. How many of you guys have ever felt that before, right? I felt that, where it's like, I got to pay this first, but I got to pay that, and then maybe I can get an extension on this, until my next check, and say, I promise to pay it on this date. Like, been there, done that. It is just the emotional stress and anxiety of that. It's hard, right? And then it's like, so your paycheck is spent before you even get it. It's like, okay, my paycheck's $400. Well, I got to pay $300 to this. That leaves me, $100 to, feed my family, to give to my kids for lunches at school, things like that. To put gas in the car, well, what can I sell in my house to get gas money until I get my next paycheck, right? That is just no way to feel. That is just no way to live. So being in a constant state of anxiety and worry, and mentally sad and depressed, like, is this all there is? What else can I do? I can't ever get ahead. Like, when is the other shoe going to drop? Because when you're living like that, if the transmission goes out in your car, you're screwed. Like, you can't fix it. You're stuck. You know what I mean? There's just no way without going and putting yourself into debt with credit cards, or going and getting advance on loans, and like those title places or whatever, or on your paychecks, and then when you pay it back, you have to pay all these fees, and you just can't ever get ahead until you find yourself being tired of being tired of being tired all time, right? How many of you ever felt like that? So, like for you guys to come out and talk about that a little bit. Katie, if you want to unmute, come on out and share your thoughts on that.
Well, the whole thing about pretty much losing your drive comes from not having the passion in what you're doing. Like what Laura talked about in the very beginning, if you have the drive to become a doctor, or if you have a drive to become a veterinarian, go do that, okay? If that's what you want to do, go do that. Whatever your heart is pulling you towards to go do that. We're not telling you to not work, because we need employees, like she says. I just don't want to be one. Laura don't want to be one. Teresa don't want to be one. Deb don't want to be one, and Dave doesn't want to be one. And I'm pretty sure in the comments, if you want to say that I don't want to be an employee, go ahead and say that in the comments. And just to switch that over, you know what I mean? Just like this is what I actually just posted on Facebook. It's actually pretty funny. I thought about this. Use your job to pay for your business, so your business can pay for your passion, okay? Because the job's not going to get you there. It's going to rob you from all that time. It's not going to get you towards the next level unless you want to climb a ladder. I mean, how long is that going to take? You have the choice here to have any income that you want. Really, you have that choice. You just got to put in the work, do the steps, whatever it is to take to do it. You have that choice. So.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. It's so important. Like she said, do what you're passionate about. We're here to educate people, to say, you do have a choice, that you don't have to live the way that we're ingrained to believe that we have to live. And that's the importance of this call, is to say, if you're feeling any of these ways, there's a good chance that your job is the culprit of that, right? Unless you're really passionate about what it is that you do. And we're passionate about what we do because I'd be lying if I said that getting nice paychecks wasn't good, and nice and feels good, because it does. But the bigger picture is the moment that we've helped someone change their life, and then they get on social media or send us a message privately, whatever, and say, because of this, I'm able to do this now, or I feel great, or I feel like I have a family now, or I'm a part of a community. That is the best feeling in the world, and that's being of service to other people, right? It's an amazing feeling. So thanks for sharing that, Katie. Appreciate you. Let me move on over to Dave. Did you have something you wanted to share on this time?
Yeah, there's I can remember the time at nights where you kind of just call back, like you're trying to go to sleep, but you can't because you've got so much on your plate, and you got bills to pay. And that frustration of knowing that how you're going to get over that, because it's so embarrassing. That's the other thing. I can remember not being able to go to parties, or not being able to go out because I just didn't have the money. And I can remember very vividly screening calls. Somebody would call me up, and I knew that if this person called me, I'd have to go out and spend money. And that was the thing for me that was very embarrassing. And the times when people knew it and would pay for me, that was kind of demoralizing, especially as a guy. You don't want that. You want to be able to pay your own way. And, I never want to go back to that. I never want to experience that again, and I know I won't, because I just have a whole different way of looking at it. And that moment of your life where you are not able to do something because of a money problem, it paralyzes you. It puts you in a state of you're in this stasis where you can't go forward, you can't go backwards, and you just feel like your world is falling apart. And that's why it's so important to get on calls like this and to know that there are other people that have been there. You're not the only one that's struggling. People are really good at being on masks, but if you got to know them and you got to see what their life was really like, you'll probably find it's probably worse than yours. I never want to be in that state where I'm trying to sleep, but I'm turning and twisting because it's just too awkward, and I'm going to get up and I start worrying about what I have to do and how am I going to. You're trying to think of everything you can possibly do so you can just bring in some form of income. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. Please understand that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Dave. I talked about something right along that line right there on stage in Washington, D.C. a couple years ago. And what I said is when you stop making decisions based on your bank account, that's when your bank account will change. Because that's the way I used to live. I used to say, well, we can't go to a movie, or we can't do this because we don't have money in the bank. We don't have money in the bank. We can't afford. And it's like everyone in the world bases what they do or what they don't do on what's in their checking account, right? And when you get into a different type of mindset where you start basing what you do on what it is that you want and what's best for you and what's best for your family and what's best for your business, that is when your bank account starts changing, right? Your financial philosophy starts changing, and it's an amazing thing. A couple of people on the panel tonight, Katie and Dave, have said about, there's no secret. Just do the work, be determined. If you want something bad enough, you can get it, and that's all true, right? But so many times people get into this industry and they work hard and they work 10 and 12 and 13 and 14 hours and it doesn't work for them. So then they just say, oh, this is crap, or it doesn't work, or this is a scam, or it won't work for me. And I want to implore you to understand that we've all done that. We've all worked 10 and 12 and 14 hours doing something and got no results. But you know what the difference is we realize it's not that we were doing something wrong, or that it was a scam, or that this industry doesn't work for us. We just realized, okay, we tried this for 10 or 12 or 14 hours for a few days or 3 days or 4 days. That's not working for us. Let me move and try something else. Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. And then you find something that works amazing for you. So what works for Dave may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for Katie, and what works for Teresa may not work for Dee. You all have to come into your own things. It's kind of like when you get a job, right? And you all, like, let's say Teresa and Katie and Dee and Dave and I, all 5 of us got the same job. And we all were set down in front of the same video that's teaching us how to do that job. That's just the general video of this is how you do your job. But I can promise you, my friends, that Katie will adapt that training to a way that works best for her, as Teresa will adapt it for her, and Dee for her, and Dave for him, and me for myself. Because we all have the same general information, but we each work differently. We each communicate differently. We each learn and perceive things differently, and you have to take the education that you're given and work it and feed it in a way that works for you so that you can be successful in your job, right? It's no different. It's no different, right? So when you get started, like I said, so many people work so hard, and if they don't get results, they like quit, and it's like the same concept. We all have the same information. You just have to try something, and if that doesn't work, then you try it another way, because I promise you, we all know that the definition of insanity is repeating the same things over and over and over again, expecting to get different results, and it just doesn't work, right? But you have the ability to literally adapt the philosophy that I'm going to do this because it's right and feels good for me and for my business and for my family. I can promise you an event is what changed my life. That's why I go to events all the time. Had I not gone to that event, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And had I had the philosophy still that I was going to do in my life based on what was my bank account, I would not be sitting here today, because back then, when I went to that event in 2012, my first event ever, I didn't have the money for a plane ticket. I didn't have the money for an event ticket. I didn't have someone I could pay to watch my kids. I had all those questions. I didn't have a hotel room to stay in. That's cost a lot of money. But what I did have was a desire to change my life. And I knew as long as I had that, and I made the commitment to go, that I would work everything else out, that the universe would conform to me, because I spoke into the universe. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I need to do for myself and for my business. I'm going to do it. That's it, period, right? I'm going to do it. And then everything just comes into play. Kind of like when you rent a house or buy a house or buy a car, you have a commitment to make payments for your rental or your car or your mortgage or whatever, your electricity. You don't just say, well, I'm not going to get electricity because I can't afford it, or I'm not going to get a house because I can't afford it, or I'm not going to get a car because I can't afford it. That's what you do to live. It's amazing how between when the bills due and when you make the commitment, you figure out a way to come up with money, right? It's the same thing, folks. It's the same thing. You can do it, right? We're here to tell you you can do it. So thanks for sharing that, Dave. Obviously got me a little fired up there, right? Dave, do you want to come on out and share your feelings on, being in the constant state of anxiety and worry and being sad and depressed about bills, living paycheck to paycheck, and just tired of being tired of living that way? That'd be great.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I went through some really hard times where I was living paycheck to paycheck, and the checks were not enough to cover what I needed, and it's very stressful, especially when you have a house full of kids, and the kids, they need this, they need that, and your shoes are falling apart, and you don't really have the money to go out and buy yourself a new pair of shoes, but because you have to take any money that you have, because you have to take it and spend it on your kids, So I've had times like that, and and it's very stressful. It's very stressful. You know, and you've got bills to pay and you can't pay them, and you've got the creditors calling your phone, and you know the phone, you avoid to answer the telephone, you know, and it's very stressful, but you know it makes you feel so bad about yourself at the same time, you know. And when you can find a way to get rid of that feeling, you know, I got to tell you a story. I had something happen to me. I was working, and I had a dog, and the dog got out of the house, and it was early in the morning, and my husband had left the gate open or something like that, and the dog got out, and the dog got hit by a car. And it was like I get a call at work that from my son, who's just like bawling, hysterical, that you know, because my husband was already gone, and the dog got hit by the car, and the neighbor is taking care of the dog. And the neighbor picked up my dog and took the dog to the vet, and my neighbor paid the vet bill because I didn't have the money to pay the vet bill, you know. And that just devastated me, that I didn't have that money to pay. We had to put the dog down because it was hurt so bad. And you know, those kind of things are the reason that I was looking for something. Those types of you know, situations where you just feel so helpless. You feel like you want to take control of your life, you know. You want to make things better for your family, and you don't want to just make what somebody else tells you that you can make, but you want to make what you feel you're really worth, and you want to be able to provide for your family and do what's best for your family. So yeah, that was a really tough time. I eventually did pay the neighbor back for that. But it took me almost a year till I got her paid back, you know. But I did it. I paid her back. But, you know, I mean, I felt terrible. Every time I saw that neighbor, you know, it's like the guilt that I walked around with that I hadn't given her. You know, it was like $500 or something. And it was like I walked around with this guilt for like almost a whole year because I couldn't pay her. And that's really horrible, to feel guilty because she did it out of the goodness of her heart because she loved animals, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just that kind of thing, you know. I've always wanted to be self-sufficient. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit in my heart, you know, and I've always felt like there's something more. And I have found that something more now, and I couldn't be happier about it. So that's all I had to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Dee. And that's a powerful story, too. I mean, I'm sure every time you saw that neighbor, your heart just like dropped, you know, that feeling of, like, I'll give money to you when I can, you know. I mean, that's just, I think, and I was going through, you know how Facebook tells you on this day, however many years ago, it like gives you that post every day? It was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, that popped up for me, and it was on this day like 3 years ago that I had paid off my wedding reception. And I've been married for almost 14 years, and I didn't get it paid off till 3 years ago, right? I still owed like $3,000 on it. And so I saw that post on Facebook, and I just laughed. I'm like, man, you know, we struggle. I was like making $25 payments on that forever, 10 years, you know what I mean? And finally was able just to pay it off. Like it was like $3,083 or something like that. And I'd done a screenshot of my checking account from where the money was deducted. And I was like, this business is so amazing. I actually, you know, can pay off debts, right? And it feels so good. And you know, you got to ask yourself, what is gonna be the why for you? What is gonna be the point where you're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this shit anymore, right? And there was a girl who was on our team, and I'll share her story really quickly because I want to get to Teresa so she can speak on this as well, who her son had come up to her and wanted to go bowling. And she said, well, we don't have the money to go bowling. This is absolute goodness honest truth. She said, we don't have the money to go bowling, and her son was sad, whatever, and that was it. Well, like 10 minutes later, he came up to her, a little boy, he probably wasn't like 7 or 8 years old, and he had gone through their couches and recliners, and you know how you dig through stuff for change, and dug through their sofas and everywhere that you sit for change. And he probably didn't have but like 12 or 13 cents in his hand, a bunch of different like coins. But he went up to his mom and looked at her with money. He goes, Mommy, is this enough to go bowling? And that moment, she was done. She was like, that's it. Never again will my kids be rummaging through our sofas looking for change and saying, Mommy, is this enough? That's like your kid saying to you, I want to help. Can I help financially? Allow us to do things that we want to do. I mean, come on, it's bowling, and that was it for her. And from that moment on, she made the decision, and she said, never again. And it was the same type of feeling for me. I don't know if anyone else on this panel or anyone watching this live or in the recording right now has ever had that feeling where something happens and you say, that's it, I'm done, I'm not going through this anymore. And I made the decision, and that girl on our team made the decision as well. I will never have another birthday for my kids that I can't afford to give them what that they want and what they deserve. I will never go another Christmas where I cannot provide for them what they want and what they need and what they deserve anytime, all the time. And that is a powerful, powerful, powerful story. So what's it going to take for you? You know what I mean? To say, that's it, I'm done. So let me move right along to Teresa here. So Teresa, if you'd like to come out and share about having that constant state of anxiety and worry and bills. And I know for you, you probably had extra too, having a child with special needs and having to provide all the extra things necessary for that. And just the mental depression and sadness that comes along with living paycheck to paycheck. That'd be great.
Most definitely. I have a lot of different stories I could share, but working in a, first of all, second shift, I watch my children go to sleep at night, maybe, I get them up for school in the morning, and that's about it, and then I wouldn't see them go to bed because I worked at 3 to 11. That was emotionally hard. And I also recall, getting a phone call from, at the time I didn't quite have guardianship over my son. In this state where I live, you have to, after they turn 18, you have to have guardianship and all this kind of stuff. But I remember getting a phone call at work, and the children were fighting, and no one else was able to go, and they wouldn't let me go. I mean, fighting, like fighting. And you can't just leave work. What do you do? It's pretty bad. And so I just up and left, and I got wrote up for it. Didn't care. I was like, my family comes first, And I don't know if any of you have ever done that. You say, well, is it my family I'm going to choose, or this job where I'm not really making any more than I want? Anyway, I'm building someone else's dreams by the time that time and effort that I put into this company. It was very stressful. And to be very honest, I had spoken about, I made a decision to say, what, that's it, I just can't do it anymore because of stress. And what ended up happening, I was so stressed, okay? I worked in a call center where it was incoming calls, and it was customer service. So, when people call, they don't say, oh, I'm so happy about my service. They don't. Usually they have a problem, they have a question, they have, something. And then, of course, the feeling of your boss being behind you going, time is money. The longer you spend on this call, the more it costs the company money. And I'm thinking, are you people that stupid where if this customer has to call back 3 or 4 times, it's costing you money anyway, But we're all in the job mindset. And many of us have touched on, the feeling of, I've done this, over and over and over. I'm banging my head against the wall, and it's not working. And from experience, and also from, your friends and family behind you going, oh, you're doing that internet thing? You go right ahead. I'm going to go back to this job. And every day you're going to hear me gripe about how much I hate it, how much I don't have time to go camping or fishing or all the stuff that I enjoy. When I want to go, aside from the kids being in school, that's about one of the things that, restricts me. But other than that, I go. I don't need to ask a boss or permission. But the job got so bad that I actually had to take a medical leave. I got really sick, mentally and health-wise. It messed up. Stress can mess up your whole entire body. Like, you can get migraines, you can get belly aches all the time, it can mess up your body, back aches, depression, to the point where you just sit there and say, I'm anxious, I have anxiety. I would literally have an anxiety attack coming in the morning, sitting at a desk, looking for my boss. No job on the face of this flipping earth should ever make you feel like that. I mean, if you like your job, fine. I'm not saying, leave your job and with no backup plan. But for me, when the medical leave was over, I was like, if I go back to work, it's not going to solve the problem. I'm just going to be right back in that same medical stress and sick and throwing up, and nothing, no job in this world should make you feel like that ever, 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 And even when I did work, I remember trying to, save up money for gas, trying to, rely on, like child support, for example, when your ex was going to pay something or whatever, and all of a sudden it's not there. And then the brother or sister says, well, I've saved up money, I can help get shoes or whatever. When your kids are trying to help each other from their money that they've earned for something, their chores or whatever that they've saved up, or it's so bad that they have to take their allowance and buy their own shoes because you're relying on child support, or you're relying on, you can't have shoes until my next paycheck. That just adds to the stress, and the stress of however long you have to drive. Now, I'll tell you, and here's a little laugh for you. I live in the state of Wisconsin, in a very rural area, and when you drive to work and you get stuck behind Farmer Joe, who decides he wants to take his plow out at 7 in the morning and drive down the middle of the highway, you ain't got time for that. That's when you're waving at him with your middle happy finger saying, look, dude, I got to get to work or I'm going to get rode up again. And a lot of the areas are curvy roads. There are no passing zones. So by the time you get to work, you're you're strung out anyway. You can't handle it. When is, like Laura said, when is enough enough? Life is short. And I will tell you from just knowing a lot of things, my father was in the military and had a lot of stress in his life throughout the years, and many times did trucking jobs and stuff just so us kids had something. And it was very, very stressful. And I truly believe that it leads to a smaller, like Catherine was just saying, it may even cause cancer. My family believed in working really, really hard and long hours, and they all have a history of cancer. Sorry, I'm not signing up for that. So, life is short. Appreciate, the time that you have, and, do what you want to do now. Don't make up an excuse, or don't listen to other people. It's not your journey is not their journey. The last time that you checked, okay, were they paying your bills? No. Are they going to offer to pay your bills? No. But you need to do what you dream about. And when you're stuck in the job mindset and you bring yourself online and you say something's not working, then it's not working. All right? And you'll be stuck there. But the minute that you say, look, I made my first commission, I can do it again. And your family's going to go, you ain't making no money. You need to get a job. You need to go work at the local convenience store. And the minute that happened, that changed. You have to shift your mind. You have to shift your mind. If you think, if you focus on money, then you're going to say, I have to make this commission. I have to make this commission. So if you do decide to switch over into, marketing of some sort, network marketing, working online, have the attitude that I can do this. I believe in myself. And when you go out and get something, try not to think about the price of it. If you want it, this is how I change my mindset. If you want it, get it. Don't go out and go crazy, because in the back of my mind, I thought, there's more. It'll come back next month. I know. I don't feel the guilt about that, or I can go out and, it's kind of like printing your own money, actually. Wouldn't you agree, Laura? It's kind of like, I believe that I can do it, and you just go find something to do online and do it. There's a lot of things you can do online, not just, build a team. You can do affiliate marketing, you can do all kinds of things. And I think the biggest thing when you're working online too is helping other people. I'm actually, like if I have a team member, I'll actually come in and help them to a certain extent. You can't hold someone's hand either. But they see that. You have to it's a whole different mindset. But if you get yourself stuck in the mindset of you're working for someone else, you'll always be looking for that paycheck and not the gratitude that you feel for helping other people. So yeah, most definitely keep that in mind. Change your mindset, and you can do about anything that you want, really.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's a huge struggle. I've heard in the chat over there. For those of you watching the chat, I was like, man, just listen to that story. Like, stresses me out. I wouldn't be able to handle that. That's crazy. And yeah, I saw Katie's comment too about believing that stress can cause cancer, and I do believe that as well. Stress can tear your life apart, and that's what we're talking about this call tonight. Again, disclaimer, if you have a job and that's what you're passionate about, then do it. But for those people who are just so stressed out because they just wish there was a better way and they just don't know how, that's what we're here to educate you on, that there is a better way. Thank you for sharing, Teresa. And I want to bring, before we close up and do final thoughts, I want to bring Dave back out because I know that he wanted to share something that he had been struggling with as well. So, Dave, if you want to come back out and share that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I want to say this because I want to give people a little perspective. In South Africa, things work a little bit differently here in the sense that not a lot of families live a lot of families live together because of the cost of living. And in this household, for instance, I got my mother, I got my father, I got a buddy who stays with us, I got myself, and we constantly have people that come here. So we're in one house and we live here all together. And one of the things that if you live on a pension in this country, and you got to understand, first of all, if you want to live on your own with a place that you can barely survive and not have any entertainment, 15,000 Rand is probably what you need. But the truth is that most people in this country earn about $320 a month. That's the most amount of money I ever made working basic wage. And retirement, if you get to retirement age, you get paid $76 a month. Okay, so that isn't even enough to get somebody into a retirement home, because retirement homes cost about $1,000. And that's just to get in there. So you can imagine the stress that causes on a family. And I remember there was a boiling point where we had somebody staying with us, and he was kind of taking advantage of what was happening here. He wanted to start a business, but he was very young and stupid and didn't know what he was doing and bragging, all of that stuff. And he really was kind of draining our money. And there was a time, and he didn't know this, but I had to go to a friend of mine and say, man, I don't know how we're going to eat. We got nothing. We have absolutely nothing in the house. And he was working with the church at the time, and he knew that, once you have a problem, the whole church knows about it, and then people start talking. And what he did, I'll never forget for as long as I live, and I'll try not to get too emotional here, but he walked into the church, and they have this big area where they've got food that they give to the homeless. And there's normally a thing you fill out if you're going to get food, but he walked in there, and he took about 5 shopping bags, and he just put in stuff that I needed, and he says, yeah, man, take this. And I said, doesn't anybody, isn't anyone going to know? He says, you know what, Dave, this is far more important than that. And, there's actually a story in the Bible about feeding people above other things. And he went out of his way and gave us groceries enough to feed us for about a week or two. And that kind of was like a boiling point for me. I never wanted to be put in that position again. I never told anybody about that for a while because it was so embarrassing to have to go to somebody and say, we need food. And we've never struggled with food, ever. But he went out of his way to help me out, and I'll never forget that for as long as I live. And the one thing you got to understand, that living here when you are earning $320 a month, and knowing that if you want to be on your own, you've got to be earning at least $1,000 a month, and even more than that. And any South African listening to this will tell you the same thing. it's a real struggle, and you've got to put in salaries together. You've got to come up with a place to stay, and then you can find really cheap areas, but then they are really crime infested, and that's no good. And you don't want to be doing that, because there's a hijacking in this country every half an hour. It's crazy, and so I want you guys to understand something, that it's completely possible to get out of a situation. You know, and that paralysis, as Laura was telling you, if you start if you start thinking about your bank account and try, you know, if you start asking other questions and surrounding yourself with people that are doing the right thing, you can completely get out of that situation. And you've just got to keep on thinking about ways that you can solve your problem by putting in the effort to do it. Because I promise you, if you chunk down your week, if you chunked it down and said, how much time am I spending watching TV, you know, reading our material, watching countless hours of TV all the time, if you just put that time and effort into doing your business, you'll be surprised at how much time you actually have. And you know, there are some people out there that really want to get the cable, and they spend all this money on cable, but they've got, like, you know, kids with shoes that they need shoes. You've always got dumb money that you're spending all the time on stuff that you don't really need, and it's really, really difficult to get out of a situation. I know that because I lived it. All right, I know what it's like to starve. I know what it's like to not be without food. I know what it's like to not eat for a few days. So count your blessings. Absolutely count your blessings, and use the time you have to put in, so that you can actually build up something that's worthwhile. Nothing in life worth having comes easy. That's just a straight fact. If you really want something valuable, you've got to put in the time and effort, and don't take it for granted, and understand that there are so many other people worse than I am. All right. You know, and you can't look at your life and say, I am the worst, because there's always somebody else worse than you are. All right? And I don't care what it is, you've got to seriously make a list of all the stuff in your life that you don't need. Sell your TV, sell things that you don't need, sell tools, sell things, so you can just do this. I absolutely did everything I could. I went to work for a buddy of mine for a period of a year nearly, just so I could do this business, and I did extra work so that I could pay for my monthlies. That was $65 a quarter salary. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you guys, and so you can have some perspective on where you are right now. Sorry, back to you, Lori.
No, thank you for sharing that struggle. That's so powerful, and I wanna go ahead and do a round robin and get everyone's thoughts on closing. So let me start that. You know, segueing right from what Dave said is, you know, if you've ever felt any of these emotions, and that's what we're talking about, why your job is costing you more than just money, and felt this way, and you really have had the desire to work for yourself from the comfort of your home or wherever you want to work, and not have to be employed by someone, and you just didn't know how or what or when. And you say, okay, well, you tell us all this stuff, but how do I do it? What do I do? I don't have anything to provide. You keep talking about value. You keep talking about value. How do I provide value? Well, above and beyond the fact that by clicking the button below this video or below the chat, it'll get you started in the company that is the system that we use, called My Lead System for MLSP, that gives you all the value that you need. If you are brand new in this industry and you don't know what value to share, it's training, it's marketing, it's education on what you need to be able to be successful in this industry and for others as well. But in addition to that, what you've been doing tonight, listening to Dave, to Dee, to Katie, to Teresa, to myself, what have we been doing? We've been sharing our stories. We've been sharing our successes and our happiness. We've been sharing our frustrations and our struggles. So for those of you right now listening to this live or watching the replay and you think that you don't have anything valuable to offer, my friends, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. You are powerful. You have a story that no one else on this panel or anywhere else has. You can affect and impact and influence people in a way that no one else can, because it's your story. You know, it's like Dave said, you know, he didn't share that story for a long time because he was embarrassed, right? It's like, and I said earlier, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for just over 5 years. But that is part of my story, and I have two options. We all have two options in life. We can be selfish and not share our stories because we're afraid and we're embarrassed of what people will think about us, or where we've been, or what we've done, or what we've struggled with. Or we can be selfless and we can share our stories because we've come to the realization and understanding that our stories are powerful, that someone somewhere right now needs to hear exactly what it is that you have to say, because they're also struggling with that too, either presently or in the past, or don't know how to get through it or to reach out on the other side. You are powerful. Everything that you do, everything that you say impacts and affects someone somewhere. You know, there's that saying about if you just smile at a stranger, you could change their life. And you know what? That's true. You don't know if the person you smiled at before you smiled at them was considering committing suicide that day, but maybe because you smiled at them, they second-guessed themselves. Maybe they said, there are good people. Maybe there is a way to change this. Maybe there is a way to come out of the way that I'm feeling. You have no idea, my friends, but I'm here to tell you that you are powerful and you have the ability to live the way that you want, to have the things that you want, to provide for yourself and your family the way that you want to, no matter where you live in this world, that it is all within your capability, that it is all within your grasp, and that you are valuable. And every struggle that you've ever been through in your life is what you need. That's your value to share with the world, to say, this is where I was, this is what I've been through, but damn it, I'm here now, and I'm here to share it with you, to show you that you too can come out on the other side, that you too can live powerfully in the way that you want to live. Absolutely. So that's why we're here, my friends, to share this with you, to educate you that you are powerful and that you too can live the way that you want to live, that you don't have to struggle. So let's close up. I want to go to Katie, because she's been waiting for a while. She hasn't had to speak. So Katie, if you would share your closing thoughts and feelings on why your job is costing you more than just money, and this call tonight, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Laura, by the way. And this has been a really cool experience. This is a subject that really touched my heart, because it's just a huge pain point for me. And if I want to say that nothing in life is guaranteed, especially a job, because you're basically, when you're filling out that application, you're basically writing an agreement that they can fire you at any moment, okay? Now, in owning your own business, you can fire yourself all you want, but you could just go right back to it the next day or in an hour, okay? That happens, you know? How many people have fired themselves plenty of times, okay? And then you just get right back, you go and get a coffee, and then you just get right back into it. You clear your head, you know. So here's a quote that I wanted to share with you that it's from Art Jonak. He says, "It's amazing how people think 4 years is a long time to succeed in a business, because if you hear everybody's story, it typically does take time to be successful. Sometimes it's different for everybody else. Like, it was 2.3 years for me, and it was like maybe 8 months for somebody else or whatever. It does take time. It's not an overnight thing. So that's just the point." He says it's amazing how people think 4 years is a long time to succeed in a business, but think it's all right to stay broke at a job for 40 years. And the reason why I shared that is because I'm reading some of these comments here, and Carrie touched on it, Jamie touched on it, where working from home is a must, because if you want to control your time and money, this is the way to do it. And Jamie was saying, you know, no job is more important than your family and children, which is absolutely true. And Teresa has said this in the comments in here, I believe, or maybe it was, no, I'm sorry, maybe it was D, I'm sorry, where they're saying that working the holidays, you know, it sucks. It's like, it sucks to have to be told that you have to work a holiday instead of being with your family. It really sucks. That's why I'm saying it's like, it touches me so deeply, because maybe I just don't like to be told what to do. So, all right, so that's my closing thought. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, I think I locked up.
You're good
Can you
now.
guys hear?
You're good now. Yep.
I was like, oh no, I lost everybody. I locked up for a second. Thank you, Katie. Thank you for sharing. No, that was awesome and powerful. And yeah, I don't like to be told what to do either. I think that the majority of people don't like to be told what to do, but unfortunately, you know, we put ourselves in positions to be told what to do when we get jobs. So yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. And thank you for coming on tonight, Katie. It was powerful to have you here, and I look forward to having you on more panels. Love, right? So let's move right along to Dave. Dave, if you'd like to share your closing thoughts this evening.
Wow, you know, I think we've said pretty much everything we need to say, but I suppose one more thing I can say is that you know, you can view this in two ways. All right, you can decide to have a job 9 to 5 and work for 30 odd years, and then at the end of those years you can decide, okay, now I'm retired, now what am I going to do? And now you got to struggle and scrape by to keep that going. Or you can work really hard now and then, you know, for a few years and then decide to retire and do what you want to do. So you can have those two options. You know, it's very easy to kind of say, you know, I'll worry about retirement when it comes. But, you know, the truth is it's just around the corner. You know, it's just around the corner. And before you know it, it'll be over. And I don't want to be in that position. I want to retire before I'm 50. I want to retire before I'm 45. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to, well, you know, in one sense I'm retired now, in one sense. But I want to be in a position where I don't need to worry ever about the fact where money is coming from. So I've made the decision to work really hard now, to be really exceptional now, to stand out now, to be out of my comfort zone now, so that in a few more years I can relax and do what I want to do and just help the people that I really want to help, and even help strangers. One of the things I want to do is to be able to walk into a shopping mall and see that somebody isn't able to pay their groceries and just go up there and just pay it for them. I want to be able to do that. That's something I really want to do because I know what it's like. I've had that happen to me. It's terrible when you just want to get a can of something and you don't have enough money. And I remember doing that. Somebody, and the guy next to me, I mean, funny enough, when I was in Vegas for the event, I went to a store and I was looking for cream soda. That's the one drink I wanted to taste in America, cream soda. And I was standing in line, and I bought all of these drinks because I never had them before. And I wanted to pay with my card, and my card was kind of foreign, but it wasn't working properly, and it just wasn't working. And the guy behind me said, "Hey, man," there we go. And he gave me like some money. He said, "Don't worry about it." And I couldn't believe it. I was like so overwhelmed that that actually happened. And I want people to know that it's possible to do that and just help people where you can. So yeah, that's my closing thoughts. Just be the best that you can be. Keep on keeping on and never give up.
Thank you for sharing that, Dave. I love that story. I appreciate that so much. You know, and like he said, you know, keep on keeping on. You know. And you've got to learn to believe in yourself, right? I never believed, you know. That's why at the event in September 2012, you know, I saw somebody up there on stage who had a similar background as me, and I'm like, dude, if he can do it, I can do it, right? But I needed someone to believe in me. And the first time I ever spoke on stage in Chicago, I said something that turned out to be powerful to thousands and thousands and thousands of people after the fact. I knew how powerful it was. I didn't realize how powerful it was when I said it. But what I said was, I never believed that I ever would have anything that came out of this mouth that could help impact or influence or change someone else's life. But look at me now. Because I went from being a drunk who couldn't even take care of myself or my kids to powerfully changing my life and speaking on a stage and showing people that it doesn't matter what you've done or where you've been, that your past doesn't define who you are, that people follow you for who you are now and where you're going, and that you have the power to change someone's life. So you may look in the mirror and feel down about yourself or not believe that you can impact or influence someone, but promise you, trust me when I tell you, your story will change someone's life. That's why you have to start believing. You have to start believing in yourself. So thank you for sharing that, Dave. I appreciate it. Let me move over to Dee. Dee, if you'd like to come on out and share your closing thoughts on tonight's call.
Um, yeah, I just kind of want to say that you have a choice. You know, you really have a choice. You can either keep doing what you're doing and be, you know, miserable and have all these emotions and 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 not have the life you want, or you can take a chance and on yourself and you know, take a chance on yourself and do something for yourself to make your life better. And what we have is something so great because you could take a chance and it's cheap. You just have to click the button below us, and you know it's a $10 for 10-day trial, and you'll be able to check out the whole system. And so, you know, take a chance on yourself, and you know, I want to say you can do anything you set your mind to do. And it's all in your mind. If you believe in yourself and you think you can, you'll be able to do it. And that's really all it takes. It's what your mind says. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dee. Appreciate you coming out and sharing. And she's right. And you know what? This is an amazing community. So even if you don't believe in yourself yet, all you got to do is get started and join us, because we're here to believe you, edify you, and lift you up until at which point you start believing in yourself. It's an amazing community. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I love what I do, and being able to help other people, being of service to other people is the most powerful thing ever. So let me invite Teresa to come on out. Teresa, if you'd like to come out and share your closing thoughts tonight.
Sure, most definitely. Some people will keep asking, you know, what's the secret? What's the secret? What's the secret? And like Dave said, there's really no secret. It's all about belief. And any of you who, you know, live for the weekend or whatever, think about this. Confidence goes a long ways. People follow people. Take a look at two people, let's say like in a dating scene or whatever, and you have one woman who doesn't believe in herself and she walks around kind of sluggish, and you have the other woman who walks and she knows she is worth something and you have value to share. You hold your head high, and believe it or not, that attracts people. You know, you believe in yourself and it attracts people. People join people. They don't join your business. They don't. You know, I don't care what kind of, you know, lotions or soaps or vitamins or exercise equipment or drinks or powders, whatever it is you're selling, it doesn't matter. People buy you. And if you believe in what you have to offer and believe in yourself, that is a huge difference. You know, and lastly, you know, how many times do you, like Dave said, do you want to walk through the food pantry line? And I've been there myself. Not many people know that because I was afraid to share. You get in a line about 500 people for a mobile food pantry here, and you get a number, and you could wait 2 or 3 hours for your number to be called, and for what? To get some cans of green beans and maybe some cheese or something like that. When you ain't got it, you ain't got it. And how long do you want to feel demeaned like that? You know? And there's good people in that line that need, you know, food. You're like, they're just, you know, I just got the feeling like there has to be something more. And on the other side of the story, there is more, but you have to believe in it. And, you know, I will tell you, you know, income results are not typical or guaranteed on anything that anybody has said on this call. But if you don't click that button below, you're not going to find out. You know, you could spend $10 at getting coffee at the Starbucks before you go to work and create the road rage, because you're going to need the caffeine for that road rage. So what would you rather spend $10 on? Invest in yourself and be relaxed, or, you know, go to the Starbucks and start your day with being ticked off before you even get there? Choice is yours. Everything in life is your choice. Thing is, are you going to do it? That's the real thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Teresa. I appreciate that. And it's so true. And she's right. You know, the choice is yours. And I think everyone on the panel tonight has conveyed, you know, their thoughts and feelings and shared personal stories of their own about why having a job is costing so much more than just money, just the stress and what stress can you do, the anxiety and living paycheck to paycheck, and just the emotional abuse, you know, and not being able to do the things you want to do and live the way you want to live and spend time with the people you want to spend time with. I mean, it's just, the reasons are insurmountable. It's crazy. Again, if you love what you do and you're passionate about your job, then do that. But really what we're trying to implore to people is be passionate about what you do, whatever it is. And there is a different way to live. So I would like to thank everyone who came live and joined us and shared their thoughts and feedback and comments in the comment section. We appreciate you. If you're a replay viewer, please leave comments. We check the comments all the time, so you can reach any of us. If you have any questions about anything that you've heard tonight or just want to talk about it, please get back to the person who invited you to this call. They are more than happy to speak with you, to listen to you, to answer your questions, and to help you get started inside of this amazing company and industry and business that we're in. And it's truly been an honor and a pleasure to have all of my panelists on tonight, Dave, Dee, Katie, and Teresa. I so enjoy these calls. It's so much fun. And just know that you have the power to change your life, right? It doesn't matter who the president is or what's going on with the economy. It is, or where you live. You know, Dave is proof of that. You know, where he lives, it's totally different than where it is here in America. You have the power. It is all within your reach. It is all within your grasp, and you have the ability to become a part of a community that will lift you up and help you to change your life, to step into your most best self. And that's what we're here for, and you know, we love it. So we're going to be back. If you love this call, make sure you come back next Sunday night. Next Sunday night, same bat time, same place, May 29th. At 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking about brick and mortar businesses versus online business, and how to keep you from breaking the bank. All right, so brick and mortar businesses versus online businesses, and how to keep you from breaking the bank. So if you're interested in that topic, make sure you come back next Sunday night to the same link that the person who invited you tonight to come to. And we'll see you next Sunday night. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you'd like to catch this replay, it will be up until next Sunday night, so you can come anytime over the next 7 days to watch this replay and get more value. Please share it with anyone who you think might get value out of it. We thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you click the Join Now button directly below this video or below the comment section, and that will get you started for $10 for a 10-day trial with whoever it was that invited you to this call. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to my panelists. Have a fantastic night, and we'll see you next Sunday. Good night.